I don't know. How are a satirist, a writer, and a musician gonna save the world in an hour? So, what are we gonna do?
What are we going to do?
Talk about comforting the afflicted, because that's pretty much all we've got in our back pocket at this point, right?
Comforting the afflicted. Yeah, I've been digging down on that. I figured out I was at my family reunion. Is this a bit? I don't think it is. I don't know. I start talking and it just becomes a bit. I was hanging out with my sister and we were driving and I turned to her and I say, the only small talk I have is about mental health. That's it. That's all I do. For the entirety of the family reunion, I didn't talk about the weather or even politics or anything besides mental health. It was just a big, Andy talks about mental health, or I respond to people trauma dumping, or, and I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. So that was my weekend.
Right. And you did an open mic you were pretty pleased with, I heard, right?
I did. I was over at Riff Raff. Riff Raff is a great bookstore slash bar performance space. It's in a area in Providence called Onlyville. Um, nice suburban white people might be a little afraid of that area, but it's pretty cool. It's a great room, to tell you the truth. If you're a little bit left of center and you got some stories to tell. I did a
I have
bit
the
called
opinion that if you are a suburban white person, you should want a bookstore that has a bar in it, I think.
yeah, seriously. It's a great space, man. I did this bit called I dated a Potemkin village. And your response is exactly what I got out of the crowd, but I was like 2 beers deep. And 2 beers, 2 pints,
At your age.
I'm, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
At three, maybe. Anything after that, it isn't good, Jack. It isn't good, everybody. So I just hit it at the sweet spot and I was able, and you know what a great crowd is? A great crowd is that, oh, we don't know what a Potemkin village is. Please tell us. And they had bought into the bit.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, I got a couple of compliments. People came up to me as I was finishing my cookie. Yes, the bar has cookies, which are great, and said what a nice job I did, and I got to have a couple of nice conversations.
Nice. Well, good for you.
Yeah, I'm going to be performing there again, probably the first Friday in September, and this one is tentatively named I'm not going to trauma dump until the third date.
Fair enough.
And as you can probably guess, I'm pretty bad at it.
I don't know. I've known you for I just I got like an 8 year, Facebook memory thing when we were like promoting the first episode we did with Sam.
Oh, Sam. Yeah. Wow, that was a good. See, I've also been, let me tell you about what I've been working on too. I've been working on, and you're going to find this funny, trying to be kinder and gentler. That's what I'm trying to be.
That is tough for you.
It's very difficult.
I
It's the, yeah.
kind like I mean in the pedestrian sense of your day to day, like if you're just going to the store to get a cup of coffee and muddling your way through work, like I can see you being what passes for kind in those situations, just very brief, terse interactions. You can, yeah.
Yes. So you're saying that I can fake it for a period of time, Jack?
Yeah, you can muddle your way through like any sociopath trying to not get noticed.
Wow, harsh, but true. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just glad that this is a safe space where I don't have to be kind.
Well, it's easy to stand on a soapbox and tell the world what's going wrong. But in court or the street in this miserable heat, we need more than just catchy songs. I want to inspire, not preach to the choir, shouting the slogans righteous and solemn, reading the books and joining the column, aware of our troubles but not how to solve them. And sometimes I feel like I'm part of the problem, like I'm part of the problem.
here we go. Hello.
Hey,
Hello. Check all my settings here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
yeah.
Great. I'm gonna turn your volume up. Hang on a second. There you go. Great. Thanks for helping me figure out the perfect podcast configuration. That's been something I've always wondered about, and I kind of got a little bit figured out over here.
You for your setup.
Yeah, I'm pretty into it. I got a backdrop too, but it only covered half the screen, so it looked a little ridiculous.
Okay. Everybody knows that people are doing this from home anyway, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think we've just all come to that being fine.
Yeah. I'm in New York, so it's like, I've got a room and I'm happy I've got a room, so leave it at that. Everything's here. What do you need?
Nice.
So we were just talking about what we as creatives and artists are gonna do given, the world situation, since it doesn't seem like we can do much to afflict the comfortable, but I guess comforting the afflicted is kind of our job at this point.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. I've got a lot of thoughts on it.
By all means, welcome to the
Oh,
naked.
shall we launch? Okay, I don't know if we're waiting for like 12 o'clock on the dot or whatever,
Oh.
which is different hours for you folks anyway. But yeah, so my thoughts are, well, first of all, in regards to income, which is always difficult for creatives, always has been kind of, except for the very, the 1% creatives, I'll call them. So I got a job in biopharma 10 years ago, and that significantly helped me be able to fund, my life and my debt. I accrued a lot of debt while I was struggling in the arts. Struggling meaning having consistent work, but nothing, barely making rent basically. But yeah, and it was a decision I had to make basically. I did some pretty cool jobs, odd jobs in the arts back in the day, but again, wasn't going to be sustainable. And I made the decision. I was hard on myself for a long time about it, but ultimately, one foot in the ghetto, one foot in the meadow. I mean, I had to make that decision, and now it's like I'm really reaping the rewards of having made that decision, and I'm in a better place where I've ever been in the arts. So now I'm quite convinced that don't believe what anybody says. Um, you know, make your decisions like strongly. Don't listen to those negative voices always judging you. You can't go corporate. And then the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain thing, you'll figure it out. I mean, in biopharma, there's a lot of scientists that, oh my God, they're more on the creative, inventive kind of spectrum than I ever could imagine being. So everything is like an ecosystem. It's in flux. It's nuanced. There's no black and white. The boomers set us all up for failure. you know, but when it comes to artists who are really struggling now and didn't make that decision that I had made 10 years ago, and are still really pursued the arts. And I mean, the ones that who knows how they're still surviving in New York City, major metropolitan areas that are really expensive. I mean, you gotta just stay sane. And that's where I question over pursuing the arts. I mean, I actually normally don't talk about this. This is interesting. It's coming up now. I mean, there's a point where you're gonna get burnt out and the art is not good then. It's not a good feeling to do it. I don't know if it will be received well on the other end. It's got to feel good to do it, and there's incubation periods in art. And maybe this is a time for those artists to take a pause, incubate, make a decision. I mean, we are in this capitalistic society that's turning into, I mean, post-capitalism, whatever. If you have to put one foot in it and, play that part for part of the day, you got to do it, We're in a society here, and yeah, it's so hard. It's compromises, huge, huge compromises. And I've made a lot, but it somehow has paid off, currently.
So if you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to give out the name of the company that you work for, but what do you do in biopharm? I'm from
So, yeah.
originally from Somerville and Cambridge, Massachusetts. So there's a lot of that going around.
Absolutely. I work with a lot of companies up there, actually. Yeah. So there's literally only one biopharma company in New York. I won't disclose their name, but it's probably easy to figure out. And it's a whale of a company. So I'm in business development, and it's all preclinical science. Nothing is in clinical phases yet. It's all, experimental and everything, which excites me. I liked, 10 years ago, I liked this idea of innovation, science and stuff. Let's get away from all these established drugs and everything. And this, I make contracts. So I do contracting, mainly non-disclosure agreements. For this, in the beginning, it was more like coordination type work. And then I got into this niche role. And so I'm an English major originally. So I love words. And for me, it's like I get to geek out all day long with words and grammar, and meaning. And I am not a lawyer. I work with lawyers. I, respect, the thinking behind it and everything. And I can't think like one. I do more, I guess I'm not a paralegal, but I'm sort of in that capacity where I review the agreements before sending them on to legal. And I'm like, as an English major, I'm like, here's the narrative that I see. If we accept these markups to our agreement, we will be risking this and conceding with this, but pros and cons kind of thing. That's all I can do. I can only see the story. Beyond that, I can never make a decision for the enterprise or for, current pipelines or whatever. Sorry, they know not to ask me for that. But yeah, for those, I love stories. I see stories everywhere. That's what's gotten me through, ultimately, and kept me sane. And that's what I kind of just see, like I work on a very flatline template, seeing stories all day long. And the structure has been monumental for me. But yeah, the industry is absolutely in Boston and Cambridge. I'm from that area originally, Southern New Hampshire, and then went to Harvard Extension School in Cambridge. And yeah, so great presence up there. Alas, I'm down here in the city though. But yeah, it was a fantastic decision I made. And I'm also, I should mention, I'm not a climber. Most folks, it's a cultural thing in corporate, they want to climb the ladder. I'm very happy being junior. I'm also happy being junior in the arts, though, I mean, my resume may speak differently and stuff. I'm like, I'm so over, I'm not into the ego thing. I'm not into the climb thing. I'm into progression and getting better at everything. I'm into, there's this psychologist theory, Mihaly, what is his name? I have his names wrong. Csikszentmihalyi is his name. A Czech, I believe he's Czech, psychologist, and he's all about the flow theory. And in any industry, wherever you are, as long as you're in the flow state, you're basically in an optimal place with your brain, with productivity, with happiness and everything. It's a little bit of a happiness theory here too. And then you slowly have to keep increasing challenges to stay in the flow state. You can't just pause and just plateau there always. You always have to have new income, new insights coming in and everything. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I really don't. But
Well,
yeah, ultimately,
if I could speak to this concept about climbing the ladder. I mean, it
yeah,
isn't,
that's where I was. Yeah,
if you're talking about economic, financial kind of stability and security, um, climbing the ladder is not necessary all
absolutely
the
not.
time.
It
I mean,
backfires often.
yeah, if you control your costs, right? Wow, this has just become some kind of weird financial podcast, Jack Maturka. I don't know if you realize this,
That was it.
but you can do well.
We can go anywhere.
But you could do well if you control your costs and invest wisely.
Yeah, there was a saying, like I think it was about a decade ago in New York City, happiness it peaks at like $78,000 a year income. And I had like a reception with my folks, a cocktail reception with my team, and I was like, what do you think about this? And everybody higher up was like, no, God, you can't do anything at $78,000 a year. And at that point, that was more than my pay grade. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I've been in Europe for 15 years, way below that, and
Yeah.
happy enough. So it's a cost balance equation, and it always changes every year.
Yeah.
You know,
To speak to that, there is an amount of money that a person makes that if they make more money, it will not bring them happiness.
exactly.
Having absolutely no income can make you miserable. There's no doubt about that. But if you make globs and globs of money, yeah, I just said globs. It will not necessarily bring you happiness. There is an amount that it just plateaus out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you have to do your own work, like find work-life balance, find what actually, what you enjoy, a lot of people don't even know what they really
That's
enjoy.
where people get caught up in the ladder climbing because they end up, they get an executive job and then they're around other executives and they feel this keep up with the Joneses thing that just
Yeah.
eats into all that money, that extra money that they're making anyway.
And that's big in the arts too. It's very competitive. Everyone wants to constantly be producing new content and, beat everybody and have, more hits and influencers. I'm here wanting more influences, but everyone wants more influencers and or more follows and everything. And it's just a vicious cycle of quantity
Yes.
versus quality. I ain't
Well,
the way to do it.
you know, at least for me personally, as I think about the content and what I write and how I perform, I just want to do good work. That's all I want to do.
Same here. Oops, I just unplugged my headset.
Right. But then everyone runs into the problem of if you're not on some social platform posting a few times every once in a while, you just fall off and everyone forgets about you unless you got some like local base or
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And that's tough as an artist now that I'm creating a lot of content in the past like year and a half, and I've got to do those posts. I've got to get that engagement up. So it's not very natural for me, but I do find an excitement in it. I try to keep it real, you know, don't overpost. I'm definitely not overposting, but I'm like, just, do it when you're inspired and do it when you want to share something. But I really don't want to be a constant creator. Like what I'm working on right now, I mean, I wanted to do this 25 years ago. I'm doing some music and some writing, and we'll probably get into it. Like I've been sitting on this for 25 years, waiting for the right time, thinking it may never happen. But it's so interesting now I'm in the time to see to witness, oh, this is what it takes to be at the right moment. It's inside, it's outside, it's everything aligning. It's confidence versus doubt. That's a huge thing to get over, and like, real confidence, not just like, I think I can do it now. Just gonna go for it. It's like, oh, damn, I got something to say. Like it's just so organic and natural that I'm grateful that I waited for a long time to get
Well, what
here.
are you writing?
So I'm working on a one-woman show, a solo
Mhm.
show called Follower. It's already been off Broadway last fall, and I'm redeveloping it. I thought maybe I would write it and do it once, and that would be enough. I get it out of my system or something. But oh no, 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 it's addictive. I kind of do want to like, get this like harder, faster, better out there, but I know to pace myself. I'm just so like in flow with the state of writing it and creating it and living it and getting ideas that I'm like, I want this process to just keep going as long as it can. So I just went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So this is theater, and this is like a kooky theater festival, very well world renowned and everything. In 1 month, every day, 3,700 shows. And it's the pinnacle of where you want to go with a one woman show or one man show. So this is where Netflix's Baby Reindeer came from originally. And it's where Fleabag, Amazon Prime's Fleabag, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. This is where those shows originally started
Mhm.
at that festival. And those two artists had been performing at the festival several times for several years. This is the thing you keep going back to. And I wanted to perform there this year. And about 6 months ago, I realized, okay, no, I want to experience it as an audience member first. I want to know how it is on the other side first, which is what I did. And I'm so glad I did that because I went there for 10 days. It was so overwhelming, full immersion. And yeah, it was wild. I was like 13-hour days of just seeing show after show after show, running all over Edinburgh, where I've never been before, staying in university housing.
Mhm.
That's actually a really cheap way to do it. And you're right in the center there, but like paper thin walls. There were honeymooners, there were weepers, there were snorers, there were hangovers. It was like full immersion. And the theater out there is it's awesome. It's really like underground, but the pulse is there. Yeah, so ultimately, I want to get there in the next 2 years with my production, maybe do a few more runs in New York first. And then that would actually, as a one woman show, would be great for a streaming series or a feature film along the way. So I see the story is gold, basically, and it's super relevant right now, I believe. So I just want to bring it through the trajectory where I think it deserves, and hopefully it will reach people. And I believe that this could actually really help people with a voice that is saying things that is not being said right now. So it's called Follower because it's about the main character. It's somewhat, how do I like to say it? It's somewhat based on the truth, loosely based on the truth, but truthfully based on the loose kind of deal. But so it's about the main character runs away from home and realizes no luck being a runaway, keeps ending up in the wrong situation, then kind of revises her running away and starts running to things instead of away from home when she's like a teenager. Starts running away to follow bands on tour. Gets on tour with a few bands, has a great time, but is like, okay, I'm like 19-ish. I got to clear my act up a little bit. So I'm going to go to college. Gets her parents on her side and stuff. They're obviously, wanting her to go to college. She gets normie. She goes normie. And at college, the impulse hits again. She has a little honeymoon phase of being there, but then the impulse hits of like, I need to follow. I need to get out. And this speaks a little bit to like a mindset who's ready for a cult at all times, but also someone who's just, lost and has that lifestyle already drilled in them. Like, I got to keep moving. And she finds an interesting classmate, an eccentric, weird classmate, very smart. And she starts following him. And it's like, it just progresses more and more and more, sort of a dissension into obsession. She starts following him home. She starts going through his belongings, stays away from him to continue the following, knows that she doesn't want to break this like border to make it like a real thing and just remain outside. Then comes in the term limerence. Limerence is this psychological state where you're just, it's obsessive, and it's to maintain that obsession, one has to keep the limerent object, they call it, at a farther distance from them. It can never be like a person that they, are in contact with. So it's the audience at one point is like, oh my God, please just go back on tour with bands, like this is dangerous, so it challenges stereotypes. You're like, okay, maybe the like groupie life was better for this individual, or safer or whatever than the university life. Yeah. And then it just progresses into this like obsessive, vicious cycle sort of thing. And I'm still working on ending options. I already performed one ending, but I'd like to do different ones. And I believe as a culture, we're kind of all doing that right now with our following on Instagram, on TikTok. Portraying these false personas that, some lost souls get addicted to and want to become and compare themselves to. And I think, something can be said to this phenomenon.
Parasocial relationships.
Mhm.
Parasocial relationships. Yeah, people who get these with influencers online, and they're not real relationships, but in their mind.
Exactly. Right.
They're doing
And
that
there's
AI chatbots now too. So
that's another wild thing too. They're not even real, and they're having relationships.
yeah,
Oh my
there's
God.
like ChatGPT released a new version the other day, and all these people who liked the old version were like, "You took my friend away!" Like it
I
was
saw that.
viscerally painful.
Yeah.
Like, okay, there's something thoroughly unethical about this.
Absolutely. And the participants, they're aware that this chat GPT is not real, their friend is not real, but yet they know they're getting something out of it that is so profound that they continue the quote unquote relationship, which is what my character and follower was doing is, I mean, some of her friends are like encouraging her, but a lot, obviously it's not a good idea. Like stop obsessing over individuals, like stop hanging out outside their house, but she's like getting so much out of it that, it's just like, I have to let that character speak. Like there are a lot of people like that now. We need to hear them out and hopefully help them transform and integrate back into society a little bit, or, something needs to be said. And, I love Baby Reindeer on Netflix. But the Martha character is just a whack job. And yeah, I mean, in reality, that's maybe a very accurate portrayal in that story, in that piece. But like, I'm sure there are folks who are more normies and integrated in society who have those compulsions, or maybe you're doing those things. And it's never a good idea to be like, they're crazy, like stay away. That's so like Christian to think like that.
Yes.
Like let's like gray area, integrate conversation. Like what's ticking here? What's relatable here? How can we break this down? And I'm not trying to change anybody or anything, but I'm fascinated by the phenomenon going on.
Yes. Well, I think that the way how not to change people is to try to change people.
Mm,
You
mm.
know, if one starts asking questions and exploring what they have to say in their lived reality, then and is this motivational interviewing, Jack? I think I might be doing motivational interviewing right now. Then, well, at least in my experience, this is how people change, is that they figure it all out, and you give them the opportunity to figure it all out. Let me talk about Baby Reindeer, and because this created some kind of trauma response with me. That was such because I have a history of borderline personality well, being attracted to people with borderline
Ooh,
personality
yeah.
disorders.
That's
I
a
couldn't even
lot.
watch the whole thing. Could not watch
I
the
get
whole
it.
because I was literally hearing um, things that had been said to me, and I'm like, wow, this is a little bit too intense. I got through episode 3, and I think I tapped
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
I think I
That
just tapped
happens
out.
to me. I always think about the writing staff and I'm like, somebody over there gets me, like somebody over there has been through this too. And that's why
Yep.
it makes me feel less alone to know that another team of writers have come up with something that I can relate to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is somehow it's not normal of a condition or something, but it can be it's the brain. Something happened, there was a trauma, it's a reaction to trauma or whatever. Someone established their brain and their reality in this version of it. And yeah, those stories are now getting out there. And speaking of story, I think that the telling of the story is therapeutic for those who have a story to share. I think everybody has a
Oh yeah.
story to share. And then the hearing the recipients, with the right audience, finding the right material, that's healing for them, healing for the actors. I mean, and I'm not like the biggest healer. I mean, like I like to drink my beer and like, sleep in and I'm like, I'm not doing yoga every day, bless those who are. For me to integrate with my healing thing, it's like I need a lot of space and time and peace. And yeah, I've been surrounded by, I have someone in my family who I believe has borderline personality
Hmm.
disorder, BPD also. And I believe there's some narcissism going on.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm easily under the influence of these personalities. I can fall right into a pattern of I'm a great listener and stuff. And I mean, I'm still figuring it out of like, stay back, pull back in, like be grounded, like, don't get pulled into that drama. But it's hard because you get wired that way.
Yeah.
And, it's childhood and everything. It's what puts food on your table. But then, there's a way to do the work and the process and you get to the other side. You don't necessarily turn to be a normie or whatever, but who wants to? There isn't really one. But yeah, for me, it's been like, I love integration. And like getting older is like a gem for me. Like, it's hard in our society, but I'm like, yes.
I, I, yeah, no, like, I mean, one of the big things for me these last couple of years was aging out of the 18 to 45 demographic is just is great because now, the marketers aren't targeting me for anything. I just kind of stand back and watch now. It's pretty great.
Well,
They'll
after the
find
age
you
of
for
45,
something.
Oh, they will, but it's all just for men and hair replacement that I'm not going to do, and so it's like whatever. So
so
yeah, that's fun to not be the target market for
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
One of the benefits of getting older too, we're talking about happiness and about income, is that after the age of 45, approximately overall, you get happier. There's like a happiness curve in which you start off happy
Hmm.
in between the ages. And this is, you can Google this, peer-reviewed research. And at the bottom of the happiness curve, typically from 30 to 45, that's when you bottom out. And your brain just
Wow.
becomes better at dealing with life
Yeah.
after the age of 45 or so.
That makes sense. It's like, yeah, it's just waves you're going through, and some other waves just get a little predictable. Like, what is that? There, like here, there's a saying I can't remember. Like, I'm just gonna say it in my words. Like, here we are again. Take a nap, have a beer, give it 24 hours, whatever. Take a trip, whatever it is. And some things are gonna hit harder than others.
Yeah.
Universally, I think it's universally. It's like job loss, divorce, and like loss of immediate family members, and those are the really big hits. And you can get a couple of those at once or something, and it's like Jesus, like, and then health issues. I've had my share, big guys too, big guns, and it's like that helps you with the gratitude thing, like. Well, I'm not having an issue today. Nothing's aching today. Like, I'll take it. It's the little things that keep you in the moment and stuff. Yeah, like but it's every day. There's always a challenge and stuff. And I just love fitting in more time for the writing. And I'm working on music now too. That's sort of going in a cool direction. and it can fit on the calendar. And I tried to keep it from my colleagues at first, the writing and the music and stuff. And some of them are following me on socials and it got out there. So, but they're cool. Like some folks are like, can I come to, your gig, next month or whatever? Like, it's like, okay, we are integrated. We're in New York City at least or something. So yeah, it's
Well,
a good
talk about the
time.
music. Talk about what you do.
Yeah, so I've been what I call a closet musician for like 25 years or something. So first of all, I do have some like success in the music world from way back in the day. I used to perform with Gogol Bordello, this gypsy punk band. They're still a thing. They're legends. I was with them. I was with them on and off for like it was like 5 years total, doing like fill-in stuff, and like doing a couple European tours, doing a New York City summer stage show in Central Park, some cool stuff in all the documentaries and everything. And I was, 19 to 25 then, I think. And it was very fun. I did, like a marching band drum, bass drum, backup hand cymbals, performative stuff, more like I consider it performance art type work. But you got to, be able to like drum a beat. And around that time, I just felt encouraged to pick up the classical nylon string guitar. That's what was big in that scene. And it was so organic. And I come from like a punk rock New England background, and that's all plugged in and electric. And this was my first time really going acoustic and just like really raw and fun. And I've always been a closet singer-songwriter, writing quietly in my Brooklyn bedroom so no one can hear, none of the neighbors can hear, maybe recording some things here and there, joining some electronic acts. I'm also really into the electronic dark wave kind of scene, but all
Wait.
sort of in the background stuff or just jumping in the studio for a day or whatever. But over the last year, for various reasons, I don't know, it became time. It was time. And I started getting more proud of the songs I was writing. I needed a bigger space to actually, I was kind of pissed and I was like, oh, I'm starting to yell in my songs. I can't do that at home. We're renting, studio rehearsal spaces to be able to belt a little more, get louder on the guitar, eventually get a guitar with a plug-in so I can plug into
Yeah.
amps.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends is a bassist in New York for all different dark, like rock bands. She's Hannah Moorhead. She plays for the Giraffes. She played for the Church. The Church is Marty Wilson Piper. That's that song, Under the Milky Way Tonight, if you remember that
Oh
song from
yeah,
like the
yeah.
80s. Yeah, so she played with him for a few years. She's amazing. And she just started playing with me. And we now have like a little duo, a duet. We go around the city like once or twice a month. We book, and I mean, people are offering us gigs. We're not even asking. It's pretty wild. Even until like a month ago, I was still on book, like bringing my lyric sheet with me on stage. Like I still need a part of my bedroom with me. This is a lot. But so alongside that, I actually am recording an EP of the same songs, recorded in a whole different way electronically with two guys from Swans, the legendary goth. I kind of call them like a goth jam band. This band, I've known one guy for like 25 years, Paul Wallfish. He's played with Swans, Firewater, Botanica. He played for like 20 years with Little Annie from Coil. She was Annie Anxiety when Coil was around with her. And like amazing, legendary, sweet, sweet people. And yeah, so we're releasing that EP. And it's so cool how nowadays anything goes really. So you can release an EP with electronic versions of songs, but play those songs acoustically live, kind of like an MTV Unplugged kind of version, stripped down, and it works. People aren't upset like, you're in two different bands under the same name, which is just under my name currently. It's like, and we actually have kind of different versions of the songs entirely, structurally, but it works now. It's like such a sweet spot creatively to be in. Um, yeah, so it's just a lot of, continuously practicing. And I can't practice at home anymore because I need to stand up. Actually, that's another thing is learning guitar sitting is one thing for 20 years, but standing up and playing, that's actually profoundly difficult.
Yeah.
Everything changes on the fretboard, the location of your fingering and everything. So I need to get down practicing standing up. I need to belt more and need bigger rehearsal spaces. So it's all become like a whole different nuanced process than what it originally was for me for the writing of the songs.
So you were an English major. Did you have trouble acclimating to the stage, performing live?
No, I actually didn't. That's a great question because you think that, it's a different introverted type or something, sort of. And I do have that side in me too. I kind of strongly can be introverted, but also extroverted. But for me, it's not, I'm a different type of performer where like I respect this too. Some people really like seek the spotlight. It's their therapy. They need to be up there. They need to be seen. For me, it's more like I need the music needs to come out. I need
Mm.
to say something. This is a vehicle for something that I can't do just talking to people at the bar or like, writing songs in my apartment. I kind of believe and always have in like art bred of necessity and not art just made based on, I don't know, privilege or boredom or I don't know. Like, I'm not a big person about showing up to the page every day. I respect that. I know a lot of people do that. Maybe that's why I'm not doing it full time. I don't do that. I create when I need something needs to come out. And that's, I can incubate for like years and nothing comes out, or
Mm.
months or whatever. But all of this currently, and even back with Gogol Bordello, it was like, it was almost as if I don't really believe in this like state, but like a transformed state or like I was channeling something. I mean, I wasn't, but it was almost as if something else came in or whatever. The best way I can explain it, like that's more reality based and not like based on like a spiritual or like religious kind of way is like I did this cool program in Bali, Indonesia, like 20 years ago, mask making and Balinese dance. And we had this teacher who had this big bin of homemade masks. They make masks in Bali, using their hands and their feet. Actually, they hold the wood. It's a wooden mask. In Bali, they cross their legs. It's usually guys doing it, and they hold the mask between their feet and they carve out the mask. And they're kind of, if they're feeling their feelings while they're making the mask or whatever, they're like, they got a vibe going on or whatever. And then that mask gets, sold and everything and like brought into the theater space and everything. And we had this one session where we had all this, my teacher had all these masks. We were blindfolded and we had to pick a mask out, put it on our heads and just explore it theatrically, like what comes out of the body or whatever. We were taught with, using our vocals as instrument, our body as instrument and stuff. And like, I remember wearing one and like feeling really like nauseous and old. And it was like, I don't know, but I was like, I'm kind of hungover though, whatever. And I felt really weak and stuff. And then I took the mask off after the exercise, and I was wearing this like pale yellow green old man with like, with like sad eyes, very tired looking. And I was like, oh shit, I kind of got some impulses there. So I
Mm.
don't know. I am definitely an agnostic atheist, but like I definitely like believe that there are creatively like there's antennae, there's something like there's something going on somewhere and you can tap into it or not. I don't believe it taps into you. I think it's more of a you thing. But yeah, that's all I can figure. And when this music started hitting me, over the last year and a half, I was like, I don't know. My gut reaction is like, it's time. Something has to be said. And maybe when I was younger, without this trust and intuition, I wouldn't have been so like, yeah, trust this, like
Yeah.
release stuff, let Hannah listen, send it to Paul, let's do something, but like, yeah, I don't know, but all I know is it's got to happen now.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but yeah, the mask stuff was really cool to have been exposed to. I don't do any Balinese dance anymore or anything, but it was cool to witness that. And this is like way out east, way different way of thinking, it's very spiritual, like
Yeah.
location,
Yeah.
region in the world and stuff. A lot of religions there actually, and they still get along.
Speaking about this kind of altered state of consciousness while you're doing the creative act, I think that's more often than not that you're just, it's like channeling in a weird
Right,
way. You're
right.
just like, you're just kind of like shut off the executive functions of your mind,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of goes, it just kind of flows. We had a guest actually, Dale McGowan, who has his PhD in composition. Jack, is that right?
Musicology. Dale?
Dale, yeah.
Yeah, musicology.
Yeah, and
Cool.
he was saying that composers don't hear the music as they're composing once they get to a certain state, and if that once they get to a certain proficiency, in other words, they just run silent when they're composing, and I thought that was really
Oh,
interesting.
that's awesome. Yeah, there's a oneness.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think, yeah, that's a place that I know I rarely get there. I also, as an audience member, that's where I want to go to, where there's no ego, there's this
Mm,
oneness with the music. And it's almost like I can hear maybe the band will be doing like a new section, but I'm almost like, oh, it's almost like I heard that already or something, or you hear something, you're like I recognize that. I feel like I've heard that before, and not deja vu, but and just a different, I don't know. Again, it's like of necessity. It's like, oh yeah, that needed to happen
Yeah,
or
some of
something.
that is just like the way music works, where you've heard this part, and just the math of it says that there's a couple different ways to
Right.
go, and it's which way are they going to go with it, you know?
Yeah. And I also don't believe there are too many ways to go. Like, yeah, it's limitless, but it shouldn't be intimidating. Similarly to writing, it's like, you can, the ending of Follower, it could go in any direction possible, but I'm not freaking out. I know when it's time and it will come to me, or if someone will say something on the subway and I'll be like, that's it. It just hasn't happened yet. It's
Are
like
when you're writing music, when you're writing prose, how mindful are you of doing it in three acts?
very, no, not, never. I'm not mindful of that at all.
Oh,
It's
okay,
funny.
interesting.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. I love like disassembling and debunking all structure, but I also am
Mm.
like I dearly love structure. But I believe it, at least in the initial process, it's totally, I'm all about stream of consciousness in
Yeah,
any format of writing or creating. Just go for it, cooking, whatever, just go nuts, make a mess. I'm all about making a mess. Samuel Beckett said, fail again, or fail harder. I think fail harder was his quote.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
all about that, like be willing to fail. And then afterwards, I actually took a screenwriting class that was a 7 act structure. He was like
Yes, right.
destroying the 3 act structure. This teacher, Jacob Kroger was his name. So like I love deconstructing and reconstructing. And it's funny, actually, recently, and I'm now revising Follower with a great teacher in Los Angeles. And as I'm rewriting the first 30 minutes of it, which is my homework assignment this week, I'm like, am I even on to the 3 act structure? I never thought about that. So I just quickly Googled just the other day, what does 3 act structure look like in a play? Like what happens in each act? And
Hmm.
coincidentally, I'm kind of innate, like organically already, it's already sort of structured that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely not ingrained in me. I left school before I got really into it. Like
Okay.
I dropped out before I got back in and kind of never left. I'm always taking classes now. But like I dropped out at a young age. I was like, screw this. And that's kind of, my parents are, my dad's a big rebel and self-taught and
Mm.
everything. So I love that spirit and I go in that direction first, kind of.
What has helped me with story structure is reading a bunch of short stories and then writing a bunch of short stories. Jack can attest to this. He's been victimized by my short stories more than one time. And also writing jokes too, because I write jokes in a three-act structure. But that has helped me quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what is it? The introduction of characters and then it's conflict and then resolution, basically.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And that 7 act structure was like basically a repeat of that, but times, 3 times 7. It was like a mathematical change. It was just like introduction and then character gets something and then loses it, gets something, loses it, and like conflict up, down, up,
Yeah.
down, up, down for 7 times.
Sounds
And
like
that's kind of this guy's formula.
Harmon
Sure.
story circle. The 7 act structure would be right around the same as Harmon's story circle, which is 8 things, you know.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Harmon's
Yeah.
story structure, it's an oversimplification of what the Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces story.
Oh, okay. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
So what was it?
And Harmon, you're talking about Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Dan Harmon, Rick and Morty, Community. His what was it? He had it down to like 16 words. It was like,
Yeah.
I can't remember how it goes, but it's basically, you know, call to adventure, meet the goddess, go to the underworld, come back up, and then like, so
A little
You know what?
Dante's Inferno there too.
the
You know
amazing
what?
thing about it is like when you watch, episodes of Rick and Morty or Community, he does this like meta circle thing where like each character has their own story circle that they're going through in any given episode. It's really fun.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they like interject sometimes with each other's
Yeah.
too. Like, yeah, that's cool.
That's where the secret sauce is where you're weaving through the different storylines. And if you
Yes.
can get it, it's like a symphony. And if you can get it all working together in the third act or at the end, however you want to define the end, seventh act, third act, whatever, if you can
Yep.
make them all
Yep.
intersect and resolve at the same time, oh my
Yep.
God, chef's kiss, it is like a work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And that often for the writer can just happen on the page. Like the writer's not even expecting it to
Oh yeah.
all come together. That's my journey with prose and like more short form. That
Mm.
generally happens. Like I'll throw it down. I'll just be like really in the feels, really going through something, and I'll just spill stuff on the page. And oh, it's coming out as a poem or spoken word
Yeah.
type stuff. It's percussive. It's got this whole emotional quality. And then all of a sudden, it wraps in like a page. I had a couple of years in when I was getting my master's in acting. I was writing a lot. I was like rebelling against the acting or something, going inside and just writing a lot. And it was all prose, spoken word stuff. And it would all be like that, like these one page occurrences. It always ended by the last line. It was ridiculous. I was like, can we please extend this a little bit longer? But no, it wasn't meant to be. But it was so fun to see everything always resolve and put a little ribbon, but like, a ribbon that's been through some shit, not a really pretty one, a nice realistic ribbon at the end with a beer, and it was like really satisfying. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping happens with Follower. It's like a song where all the harmonies come together in the end or something
Yeah.
too. Not
Yeah.
expecting it. Yeah.
Do your characters talk to you?
No, because they're all me. Ugh. Well, I
Oh.
guess I admit that they're all me, so I guess they are all talking to me always. But no, I really always do autobiographical stuff.
Uh-huh.
The storytelling I do is based on what I've lived. I wouldn't, to me, it almost wouldn't be authentic otherwise, or I wouldn't be able to make it. I'm not that type of artist. Yeah, I am not the type. I'm not the Harry Potter type. I'm not like let's create all of these vast people. Um, I might throw in characters' names of people that I know,
Mm.
especially historical ones where there's more distance.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there are elements of me because I'm directing the narrative and stuff. Yeah, I would love to like play and write like something that's completely fiction for a day, but then I don't think I could even do it.
Yeah. Have you been part of any writers groups?
Yeah, so let's see, I have one on my calendar I always know about. I have two on my calendar I always know about. If it's like, oh God, it's Friday, I need to let something out. Like I know New York has this great school, the Gotham Writers or
Yep,
Writers
I've heard
Club,
of
I
them.
think, or
Yeah.
Writers Group or something. So I occasionally take classes there. They every Friday they have like a free writing Zoom. They give you like a prompt. So that's always
Yeah.
available. I literally have that on the calendar always. And then there's another writing group I'm a part of. I rarely go. Every month they do something at different people's houses. Bring your own, wine and cheese or whatever, and do some
Yeah.
free writing. And I joined the, what do you call it? The writer's room. It used to be more legendary, I think, back in the
Mm.
70s or 80s or something. It's in New York. It's an Astor Place, a little bit below Union Square.
Yeah.
And I joined that they allowed me to join after I did my play because I was a playwright then off Broadway, I guess. So I fit the credentials. But man, they're really quiet there. They're not, they're not hanging out at all. It's like cubicles. It's like a co-working space.
Oh, okay, sure.
But even being there is helpful for some pieces that I write. Sometimes I really need solitude.
Yes.
But sometimes I like a loud coffee shop. I'm
Hmm.
kind of learning on the fly what works for me. I'm not great with accountability. I do need something to get me going. And what really works right now is actually deadlines. I do a lot of readings for friends in the city. A lot of it's like underground, kind of political punk rock readings, open mics, or like kind of curated open mics, closed mics, I guess they are. And,
Hmm.
they'll book me 4 weeks in advance and they want a new piece for it, 20 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, all right, 2 nights before is when I'll crank it out. But I also am a big fan of revisions. I never rewrite songs. Everything is as it comes out in the song for me. But I'll rewrite prose 20 to 40 times.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I really am into the rewriting, revision process,
Cool.
cutting, adding, and stuff. So, and that's fun to do when you have other writers around you, like in the cubicle space at like the writer's room. Like, that's good for a good rewriting space. Get some caffeine and just keep going.
I think a lot of writers would find being part of a writers group useful
Yeah.
just to get used to hearing constructive feedback, to tell you the truth. I was part of Harvard Square Script Writers for a number of years,
Oh,
and
great.
being able to hear people who want the best for you to give you critical
Yes.
analysis of what you're writing
Yep.
definitely helped me in my journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always taking a class, even whether it's acting or clowning or Currently, obviously, a lot of writing. I'm really happy about this solo show class I'm taking now with a teacher in Los Angeles and the community there. We get coffee together. It's actually usually classmates are, we're out in New York. It's a Zoom class. And that community is so wonderful. And everyone is so different with solo shows. You have to
Mm.
have a certain brain for writing solo shows. It can be navel gazing unless you have a good through line that's
Yes.
external to yourself,
Yes.
like when I was at Fringe, bless their hearts, I did hear some navel gazing storytelling, and I was like, oh my God, this is what
Can
comes
you
to
give
my
us an
head.
example without incriminating anybody?
Well, just centering the piece around your life story when maybe your life story is actually not that interesting, and maybe
Nice.
the
Nice.
gaping obvious thing about your life story, you don't even reveal it, which is you maybe come from a lot of privilege, or you come
Mm.
from this one thing that really sets you apart. That if you're not mentioning that even in a self-deprecating way, what do you got? What am I here for?
Yeah.
Like we are running in like a reality here.
Yes. Yes.
So, and it's not just yours. Yeah, so you gotta, and that's why it might have taken me 25 years to really release my story, the follower, the script, because 25 years ago when I was first like gelling it and thinking of it, it was still me centric.
Yes.
Not until I realized, oh, followers, following, everyone's following each other. Wait, I have a following story. Wait, I absolutely have something to say here. That gets the I out of the equation, and then it becomes something
Mhm.
universal. And then, fiction can step in if, I fictionalized a lot,
Sure.
and yeah. So you don't want, so anyway, yeah. So having a writers community, especially in the solo show platform, is so helpful. And especially like I have a lot of like in my follower I mentioned in the new version I'm going to be mentioning things, self-deprecating acts that kids do or adults unfortunately too sometimes, cutting, niche things from like I'm used to from like the dark music scene. I was
Mhm.
around it, as I was younger, and I will just like mention that as a line, and I'll have a classmate who has never heard of anyone doing that or just never experienced that, and she'll be like, wait, what is that act? Why would one do that? Can you, just
Oh,
do a couple sentences on, and I'm like, oh, right. Here I am making a joke about, oh yeah, she was a cutter too. We bonded. And then it's like, no, 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 no. Like break it down in two or three sentences. What is the act of cutting? What is one, why is one doing it? There's always a why, especially for these extreme acts.
oh yeah.
And then, get back into the narrative.
Well, there is, you can really, I have a character that one of the pieces I'm working on who has engaged in cutting. And how do you explain to someone who doesn't have unthinkable thoughts or unfeelable feelings? How do you explain that on the
Right.
page to someone? Yeah,
Right.
that's a challenge.
Super big challenge. Yeah. So I break it down. I guess maybe the acting background helps with it. What does my character want? What does she need? And how is she not able to get that in her current reality that she needs to do the act of cutting? Or, for others, it's an addiction or a drinking or whatever.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's kind of like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, what is the impulse? Why do they think that this act is safe versus an act of like taking a nap or, calling your mom? Well, maybe it's actually for that character more harmful to call their mom,
Oh yeah.
or more harmful to, lay down because they're never going to get up out of that bed. So yeah, but it's amazing how if you get your ego out of it, if you solve it as a math problem almost, it's like you can, in two sentences, I can get you to the other side and get you
Yeah.
on the character's side, basically, and keep the
Mhm.
story moving, just keep the story moving. And it's such a fun process. Yeah, I'm hooked. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, yeah. How long is it?
So it's 55 minutes. I wanted to make it longer because I got a lot to say, but I guess traditionally, and if you want to aim for Edinburgh Fringe Festival, you want to keep that at 55 minutes to an hour, because that festival they run shows every hour, and
Mm.
oftentimes the venues are so close that they have this 5 minute thing where you can just like run to the next show in 5 minutes. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's like this has been going on for decades, and I never used to like formats so much, but now I love the structure that formats allow me.
Yes.
Working within limitation is
Yeah.
really wonderful. It's a godsend. I can
Yeah.
only work within limitation. So knowing that I got 55 minutes and I've got a really structured teacher, helping me, like I know what boxes I need to check and I
Mhm.
got to get out that off that stage in 55 minutes. I can do it.
It's an
Um,
assignment that you know which tasks you need to hit. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, again, I have a good teacher. I have a structure I know of now. Yeah, my forum that I had was storytelling, which is kind of like the Moth Radio Hour.
Yes.
And okay, I had a lot to say on that. So the Moth, I love what it's done for storytelling in our culture. I think
Mhm.
that's amazing. I mean, it brings us back to our organic, cavemen, cavewoman, sitting outside the fire. Like this is how lessons were learned. I
Mhm.
walked too far this way today, and I ran into some berries. Don't eat these berries. These berries make you sick. They may kill you. Let's tell stories. Let's save each other's lives and everything. And nowadays we're not everything is under 160 characters on what is it on well, I mean, I guess it's more on Instagram and like Facebook, but
Yeah.
Twitter got us into this whole 120, 160 whatever characters thing of splurting out little things. And there's a time and a place for that. I do that at my music a lot, like for choruses especially. But like, yo, when are we just going to allow people to say and ah and like even, when they're, telling a story and experiencing the story themselves in their mind again, and then maybe that actually changes them in the, you can't do that in a little like blurb. That happens maybe at a bar, but like not everybody goes to bars and bars aren't always great. So like storytelling is such an important part of humanity and we're not really doing that. It's not in our culture. So I love that the Moth puts that on our radio. It's available all the time. I'm so into that part of it. But the Moth stories, the content, I always was aiming on that, like thinking that's the pinnacle, but it's
Yeah.
so vanilla. It's like the weirdest the Moth story will get is like, I don't know, like there was a divorce and then dun dun dun. Or
Yeah.
like there's a weird like I have a weird uncle who's a vet living in the basement. Oh, I want to like my stories, I want them to start with, okay, there was a divorce and there was a weird uncle living in the basement. But then this is what happened. And then this happened, for like an hour or more. Like I'm more like, let's dig into weirdly, really weird shit and like get really nuanced. And something I learned recently with this new teacher is like the more specific you get with storytelling, the more universal it gets. The message
Mhm.
can get. Of course, you need a through line that's not just yourself, but
Yes.
I love that. And yeah, the Moth is kind of like yawn. I'm like, yeah, it's a moth, and I want to like write stories with more like cockroaches and like weird insects that aren't defined yet. Like I don't want to deal with a moth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I sort of
No,
moved on from that goalpost.
so there was at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, there was a little note left by the curator of, I think, the Mid East section of the exhibit of the museum, and they wrote that art should be something that there's like a whip that strikes you.
Ooh,
That,
yeah,
I thought,
that's
wow,
great.
that's powerful imagery. And that's yeah, yeah. I've held on to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I love art based on ideas. And that I'm starting to study like stand-up comedy. I know you guys have had a few comedians on, and I love where the trajectory of where like storytelling is now being like told like in the stand-up comedy scene on
Yeah.
Netflix and stuff. You can see a lot of this. And I love that. I'm so happy about this intersection. And I think I'm into the comedy where like I go, aha, like I'm having aha moments watching comedians now. Like it's a little bit Mike Birbiglia. It's
Yeah.
Jacqueline Novak really does it. I really recently learned about her. I saw her at the Fringe Festival actually. And she's doing like major thinking. Like this is like university stuff, like where you're like in a section breakout and you're discussing things. She comes up with the coolest stuff, and it's seriously aha moments that are like whip strikes. Like she's talking about, she's have like a thing about like she goes off a little bit about like sex, and then she has a thing of like when I saw her at Fringe, she's like, look, like I love eating. Eating is like my thing. And like when I eat, it satisfies me from my mouth all the way down, 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 down to
Mhm.
here. And then, a guy, that's just this area right here, and I'm like, God, I never thought about, making these like reality sort of manipulating reality in these like aha ways where it's like, yeah, whoosh, like, oh, I never thought about that. And then my reaction is just I crack up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a genius at work. I could never do anything like that. But yeah, yeah. But you got to have your art with a whip has to first be allowed,
Yes.
by
That's it.
by
That's it.
society.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't even know if, yeah. And then also it probably is going to be speaking out against something. And that's why I think now is actually a great time for artists. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a struggle on the day to day and financially, but now is a wonderful time to use your voice because there's a lot that's not cool and there's a lot of people not listening. And if you can get out there, that's why I'm like, I don't really know Taylor Swift's work or anything, but I understand that she's got a platform and she's using it. And I do know a few like, musicians that have a real fan base. And I love when on their Instagram stories, they're posting something political. They're trying to, and it's just a little thing, it's a little something, but, you know, super fans or like people who are listening to them, that's going to get through. And that can make a really good change. So,
Right, but on
use
the other,
that platform.
every time you see one of those posts, there's always somebody under there complaining, "Why are you being political for?" And it doesn't matter who it is,
Right.
right? Like, I mean,
Right.
even if they've always been political to begin with, they're fans who just didn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, fans will also like, I have a brother who is not politically aligned with me, and he'll
Mm.
see that. Like, I'm just trying to catch up with it. He'll see that and turn it into a thing. And I'm like, but this wasn't political at all. Like, I'm really not that, like, I don't put it out there much, like politics. I am an activist. I do protests and stuff, but I keep that just, it's a thing on my calendar I do.
Mm.
I wasn't like bringing that into conversation, but like, yeah, people will find that. The alarmists will find that.
Alarmists, indeed.
Yeah, they'll find that.
I'm at a point that I don't argue with people. I know you find that surprising, Jack Materka,
Same.
after knowing me for so many years, but in person, and actually even in this space, I don't think I've gotten into any full-blown arguments with anyone, and I don't explain myself. Those are the two things
Same.
it's like, why am I doing this? There's nothing in it for me.
Yep. Yep. I leave that to the experts also. There are people who are really good at that. I am not that person. So yeah, I'm the same way. But I do show up I'm in New York, so there's great protests going on. There's a lot of activity. So and I like bringing my frying pan out. That's the new thing. You bring your frying pan, whack that, and make some noise and keep it peaceful. I went to pro-Palestine protest like
Really?
about 3 weeks ago. It was from the UN to Times Square, and I think
Sure.
we went kind of slow. It took like a good 30, 40 minutes or something. And, new people joined in. It's a spectacle. And when we ended at Times Square, it ended with, it was prayer hour for like, I guess it's a Muslim community, and it was a prayer hour. And they laid out their carpets and did some prayers. I think it's in the north facing direction. But, my folks, we stood off to the side, but in respect and everything. But it was like
Yeah.
all different communities are coming out for these. Hasidic Jewish folks were there too.
Well,
With signs and everything. It's New York, so you got everybody here, and it's just wonderful to see the community coming out. I can't say what's making a difference or not, but again, I'm not talking. I'm not like trying to change people's minds or explaining anything, but just showing up. Is the
this
least
is
we
what
can
I
do.
found to be irritating about the mainstream news is that, people of a certain age remember apartheid and remember about all the things that occurred anti-apartheid. And no single thing probably pushed the apartheid government in South Africa down. But, and bringing that to today, you'll hear about, oh, whatever you're doing isn't going to be of any help. Whatever you're doing, is counterproductive. But the thing is, it was the same thing people were talking about the anti-apartheid movement like 30 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, you're always going to hear that. I'm afraid. Yeah, I think. And that's where I like to think of this term of like being agnostic. It's like that's unknown. That's
Yeah.
unknown. So I'm going to do what I can. Like yeah.
Well, I think that's very Marcus Aurelius, very Stoic, very Buddhist too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm going to control over the thing. I'm going to exert control over the things I can exert control
Right.
over.
Right.
No drop of rain is responsible for the flood.
Oh, Jack Materka, crushing it, crushing it.
Drum roll. Where's my frying pan?
Like a
So
deep
is it
something.
so are frying pans like the banging of the frying pans? Is that big?
in New York City?
I think it is now. I think it's becoming
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't over the pandemic. So I live Park Slope, Prospect Heights area. That's where a lot of the Brooklyn-based protests started. Grand
Okay.
Army Plaza, a few blocks
Yep.
from me, and they went up to Barclays Center, which I call like the Times Square of like Brooklyn, and it's this
Mhm.
strip along Flatbush Avenue. They live right off of, and I would hear all the helicopters and everything over the pandemic. A lot of activity out there, and that's where I started hearing it. And I do remember there was one protest that I was banging up frying pan out the window in 2020. I had never heard of it before. And you could hear it was like a cacophony of it going down the street. I eventually, after lockdown, started going out and participating more in those protests. And more, you'd see the frying pan thing show up. But it's benign. But it's
Yeah.
it's benign, but it makes a lot of racket. And I don't believe it's you look ridiculous thing because you get enough of those together. You got the cacophony, you got, you know, it really makes a statement in a peaceful way. It really makes presence known using the auditory, experience. And it's visceral too. It's not like there's chanting too, of course,
Yeah.
and chanting, appropriate things for the cause. But it's another thing to just get visceral and like bang.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. So
You know, I think I'd be
I'm a
more.
fan of it. Yeah.
I think I'd be more comfortable with hitting a frying pan. I think I'd be more because chanting always strikes me as kind of like Nuremberg-y, the whole torches 1933 thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know why I
Yeah.
did this, but that was like a rude moment. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think hitting a frying pan would be
It's
would be great.
intimate chanting too. It's like, whoa, like I feel like I'm
Mm.
singing. There's pressure. It's performative. It's very
Yeah.
performative. Some people do it great because they are kind of performing when they do it.
Oh, this is
Um,
true. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it really elevates the energy, and in a peaceful, safe way and everything. It gets that point a little more across. Um, yeah. So yeah, love being in New York for this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good place to
So
be.
are you just driving the one woman show outside of New York before you head back over to Edinburgh?
Um, I have no plans to really currently. If I do bring it out, it might be at another festival like Hollywood Fringe Festival is
Right.
another one. Montreal has a pretty decent Fringe festival. It's more in
Hmm.
the French culture, these different like alternative theaters, you got
Yeah. Yeah.
miming, puppetry, all this stuff is welcome. So I've considered those, but there's so much theater in New York and places
Yeah.
here that I probably would like afford. I'd save more money probably just doing it here.
Oh, good point.
Um, and I've got the thing is too, pulling your original audience. I'm pulling my friends basically from my audience now. And it's like I have less friends, outside of New York. So less friends in Boston, less friends in LA, less presence would be out there. So I think, I'm going to build more here in the home base
Yeah.
and then take it
Got
elsewhere.
LA friends, you could look at South by Southwest. A lot of LA people go there.
That's true. In Austin, I have some friends in Austin actually too. That's a good point. I didn't even think about it. Is South by good for theater? I didn't even know that actually.
They seem to do a
Uh,
little bit of everything.
They do, yeah.
Since it's so tech centric, I imagine as long as it's pretty avant, you'll get enough people who'll,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
When I was doing the 48-hour film project, I did this a couple of times here in Boston. And for those of you who don't know the 48-hour film project, you basically make a short film from soup to nuts within 48 hours, as the name indicates. And you get a genre, you get a prop, and you get a line of dialogue. And what I would do is at the end, not the last edit, of course, but getting close to the editing, I would bring in someone unconnected to the project, have them watch that particular cut, and then ask them, does this make sense?
Yes.
What is this about? Does this suck?
Smart and brave.
Bringing people outside. I just scared my cat. I'm sorry, my cat. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing to my cat. But I found that instructive because sometimes, speaking as from the artistic, looking out, I just don't see it, and the people
Yep.
involved in the project don't see it either.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
And I think even outside of the creatives, every company needs somebody whose job it is to say, does this make sense? Who's just detached from it
Yeah, yeah.
for most projects, especially like marketing.
yeah, definitely. There's
Yeah,
a lot at
you need
stake.
somebody
Yeah.
who's like, you can't say that
Yeah.
because I've been paying attention to trends and you're going to get people angry, that kind of thing.
So we are actually running to the end of our hour.
Yeah, we are.
Oh
It's hard to believe. But our traditional question is there something you wanted us to ask you, but we didn't? Is there something you want to touch base on that we haven't gotten around to?
Hmm. I don't really think so. I think yeah, oh, I want to show my mug. I brought my Happy Bernie mug out. So a little plug for Bernie, I guess. Bernie, keep your voice going, please.
Yeah.
Keep. Yeah, no, I'm very happy with really fun conversation. Mental health awareness, everybody, there's so many epidemics and pandemics going on. And yeah, self-awareness. Yeah.
Well, where can people find you on online?
So I am mostly on Instagram, I would say, though I have a private account because I'm still up and running with my piece. Since I don't have it fully written yet, I'm kind of like, ooh, I want to like curate it a little more. So I'm on Instagram. My name, Katheryn McGaffigan, and got like activity on Facebook, a little bit on YouTube, and yeah, I'm all over the New York scene, always performing out these days, a few times a month, music and acting, performance art stuff. And I will also say, keep an eye out for the EP. It's going to be under my name, and two members of Swans, Hannah Moorhead, and so excited for that. And maybe that will actually be making some like gothic dance floors and such too. That would be really fun.
Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has.
Thanks. Likewise. Thank you.
Did
Well,
you,
thanks for coming on.
so you sent me a thing for spoken word. Did you want to read to
Oh
close?
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I will have to figure out where my screen goes here. Yeah, this is sort of a fictional piece, loosely based on true events, truly based on loose events. And it's just a quick spoken word piece. And I'll try to tap my foot with a percussion.
No.
Okay. Love language. There is a world where Caroline is still alive. Outside a nightclub in Baltimore, standing in line next to Lee Allen, mid-afternoon. They smoke and sway in view of the tour buses. The first in line, two. Oops, the first in line. The first two. Lee Allen, too, is still alive, proclaiming that herpes lasts longer than any other love, in her Philly drawl accent, a fresh clove cigarette riding in the manifesto of her manic, panicked lips. There is a world where, and I am still there, outside a nightclub in Baltimore, but I am not in line. I'm on the highway overpass above the nightclub, you see, because that's where the trucker dropped me off. I'm standing in the breakdown lane directly over the roof of the club, waving down at Lee Allen and Caroline in my multicolored sequin robe with a black boa, everything I own in a black trash bag on my back. Just trying to get to my place in line. The first in line, the first two. Cars honking, drivers yelling, get the fuck off the road, you fucking freak. You're going to die there. But I've heard it all before. We all have. I'm waving and waving. A flashy fishing lure far from any water. Lee Allen smokes and smokes. Caroline laughs and laughs. Those were the years she still laughed. The two uninterested in flashing objects. Outside a nightclub in Baltimore, strewn throughout the parking lot, I see cars with my friends, cars I did not get in, because I was too cool to ride with anyone I knew. Jean traces black coal over her eyes in the rearview mirror, looking back without looking back. April reaches her fishnetted leg out of the open car door to zip up her boot, so together, yet so not. Alex and Dark Dave lay out CDs on the hood that they want the band to sign. Alex saying he knew all the lyrics to the new album before hearing it. Like in a dream, Like in a dream, Jackie, too, is still alive, practicing daily ballet exercises outside her car, one foot in silk slipper, one in Baltimore mud, like in a dream, That's where my memory stops. I did make it down to the show. I don't know how, though. I don't need to know. I'm happy they're still standing lost and found in the breakdown lane, over the nightclub in Baltimore, all my friends still alive, scattered beneath me, busy, in view of the tour buses, in between the I-395 sky and Baltimore mud, where dreams came true, where we could set our bags down, take out what we wanted the band to sign, because herpes and autographs and getting lost on the highway last so much longer than any other love.
Katheryn McGaffigan, everybody.
Thanks.
Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
So let's stop depending on some happy ending, shouting the slogans righteous and soft.